is one thing that can be guaranteed to affect every single one of you. It will cause you to deteriorate and eventually kill you. Ageing. New Zealand has an ageing population, but the issue is we are not ageing well. For every 7 years of life gained, 2 of these are unhealthy ones. Males can expect to spend 11% of their lives in bad health, while females can expect an even greater 14%. I believe viewing ageing as a disease will decrease the impact of age-related illness. It will result in the development of an anti-ageing treatment that will relieve New Zealand of the social, economical and environmental burden of an ageing population. So what is ageing? In the broad sense, ageing can be defined by an increase in biological age. But in the narrower sense, it is the deterioration seen as a result of increased age, otherwise known as cellular senescence. The accumulation of senescent cells has a detrimental impact on their surroundings. The senescent cells are different from those around them. This causes cells to be more active, secrete more, be unable to replicate, and resist cellular signals. There are several known mechanisms for a cell to become senescent, such as when there are high levels of DNA damage. It can prevent a cell from being able to replicate and block the mTOR pathway, causing cellular senescence. Another mechanism is through the shortening of telomeres. Telomeres protect the ends of your DNA, much like the caps of shoelaces prevent fraying. As you get older, your telomeres get shorter, and this can then cause DNA damage, which can trigger cellular senescence. I believe ageing is a disease. The end result of ageing and disease is the same. There is a reduction in one or more functional abilities below typical levels and a decreased ability to cope with change. The progress of disease, whether endogenous or exogenous in origin, has the same pattern as ageing. At the start, there is little effect, but as it progresses, it disrupts homeostasis and increases molecular damage and fragility. If ageing is viewed as a disease, the diseases of ageing can be viewed as symptoms of the larger underlying illness. Dr. Olshanky of the University of Illinois said, "Age is the underlying risk factor for most of the things that go wrong with us." Cellular senescence is a process involving dysfunction and deterioration at the molecular, cellular, and physiological levels, and it is this malfunction that causes the diseases of ageing. This can be seen in a common ageing-related illness, type 2 diabetes mellitus, where an increase in the number of senescent cells in the pancreas directly correlates with insufficient insulin release, showing how cellular senescence is the underlying cause of this disease. I believe viewing ageing as a disease will result in the development of an anti-ageing treatment, as ageing will be viewed as a medical problem to be treated. The form of anti-ageing treatment I am proposing would not stop ageing, but rather decelerate it. Studies have shown that by slowing the underlying cause, you can achieve broad-spectrum protection against disease, thus resulting in a healthy lifespan and maximum longevity. There are several possible pharmacological interventions for ageing, one of which is caloric restriction, consuming adequate amounts of nutrients but fewer calories. This has been shown to decelerate ageing and postpone death through the previously mentioned mTOR pathway. There already exist drugs such as metformin which mimic the effects of caloric restriction without the need to decrease the amount eaten. A recent study at Cardiff University has shown that patients that took metformin for type 2 diabetes lived on average 15% longer than a group of comparable healthy people. And in addition to this, it appeared to decrease the risk of cancer, heart disease, and cognitive decline. AMPK is an energy sensor in cells which enables them to degrade and discard old and damaged cellular components. In fruit flies, increasing the amount of AMPK it caused lifespan to increase by 30%. The effects of increasing AMPK were not just seen in the intestines where it was delivered, but throughout the whole body. AMPK holds the potential to intervene in the ageing process and prevent neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease, which arise due to the accumulation of damaged cellular components. HDAC inhibition is a form of anti-aging treatment which works through modulating an enzyme involved in gene expression. This holds the potential to delay aging through the preservation of a level of gene expression that is characteristic of younger people. This could provide protection against a plethora of age-related illnesses, such as cancer, atherosclerosis, diabetes, neurodegenerative and psychiatric diseases. In addition to this, HDAC inhibition may upregulate stress response and inflammatory response genes, changes that are usually associated with increased lifespan. So if some anti-aging treatments already exist, why are we not using them to treat aging and decrease suffering? Nur Barzali of the Institute of Aging Research at Albert Einstein College of Medicine wants to trial the use of metformin in 3,000 healthy patients. However, before he can do so, he needs to get aging recognised as a treatable disease rather than a natural unhealthy process. Scientists and drug companies are currently hampered by regulators who will not license medicines for something as general as aging. By recognising aging as a disease, it will allow these medications to be properly researched and brought to the market to benefit us all. In addition to this, it will also cause current anti-aging treatments to fall under the correct regulations. So people are not drawn in by current and non-functional anti-aging treatments on the market, and this will allow for proper treatment later in life. Each disease is currently treated separately, with emphasis placed upon the illness that will most likely cause death. Diabetes is commonly treated with insulin, but insulin does not treat cancer, instead it promotes it. Furthermore, insulin promotes obesity, atherosclerosis, worsens retinopathy, and promotes aging. So by treating one illness, you are worsening and potentially causing others. If you were to treat one aging-related illness, such as cancer, other diseases would continue to decrease lifespan. Therefore, it is necessary to take a preventative approach and treat aging itself. Older people are more frequent users of the healthcare system due to a decline in functional ability. There are currently 50,000 people in New Zealand living with dementia, a number that is set to triple by 2050. Chronic diseases such as dementia disproportionately affect older adults. This leads to a diminished quality of life and increased need for long-term healthcare, acute services, and residential care units. Older people are known to use healthcare systems 3 or 4 times the amount that would be consistent with their percentage of the population. And this increases to 5 times over the age of 70. By recognising ageing as a disease, healthcare will change so that instead of seeing many doctors for many different diseases, you will see one doctor to treat you for ageing. In the past few years, my grandfather has seen 9 different specialists. This seems excessive when if treated before the onset of varying age-related illnesses. He could have just seen one doctor to treat his ageing. Changing healthcare and treating ageing will decrease the incidence of age-related illness at all ages and relieve the burden that age-related illnesses put on New Zealand's healthcare system and society. There is a large social cost to having an ageing population. Older people need more help and encounter more obstacles to being involved in the community. Often it falls upon family members to be able to provide support and a way around these obstacles. Women in particular face large issues. Women live longer than men and account for the largest proportion of the elderly in aged care facilities. By changing healthcare and treating ageing, you will then relieve the social cost of having an ageing population, as people will be more independent and more involved in their communities for longer. Older people use comparatively more energy and electricity per person to power their homes. One reason for this may be that due to declining health, they are increasingly reliant on heating and cooling systems in order to maintain their body temperatures. This means that they are using more resources and producing more emissions such as pollutants and greenhouse gases per person. By treating ageing, you'll prevent this overconsumption of resources and production of emissions due to declining health. The number of people greater than 65 will increase by 80% by 2031, while the number of economically active people will increase by just 8%. This will result in changing the ratio of active workers per retiree from 0.2 to 0.39. New Zealand will find it increasingly difficult to fund superannuation, which will increase from $9 to $20 billion a year, and health expenditure, which would need to grow at half its current rate to be economically viable. Older people are skilled workers, volunteers, caregivers, mentors, and leaders. Agriculture, one of New Zealand's most important industries, has one of the highest median age of workers and owners. This brings up the question, when they get older and retire their grain, sheep and beef farms, what will happen to them? If they are brought up by foreign investors, this could have a detrimental impact with the transfer of productive land out of New Zealand's ownership. By changing ageing and by viewing ageing as a disease and with the approach of preventative medicine, people will be able to continue their jobs for longer. This, in turn, will increase the percentage of economically active people in New Zealand, which would allow the government to fund superannuation and healthcare without the need to raise taxes. So in order that we relieve New Zealand of the social, economical and environmental burden of an ageing population, it is important that people start seeing ageing for what it really is, a disease that will kill you and will cause suffering in the process. So will you go on accepting it, or shall we pursue an avenue that will cause positive change for all of New Zealand? Thank you.
Thanks, Paris. What convinced you that we should be talking about ageing as a health issue and not a social issue?
Because there's only so many rest homes and so much help that we can give the elderly people just before it doesn't actually become something that we can viably do as a country.
Did you think about the issue of euthanasia?
No, I didn't actually think about that. But
that would be more efficient, I would have thought.
It could be, yeah.
Sorry, am I showing my age? Is there any evidence that insulin causes cancer, by the way?
Yes, there is. That's from a research paper that had evidence from it. So,
is there any evidence that calorific restriction has been shown to extend the life of anything except rodents?
Yeah, it's been trialled in chimpanzees and monkeys. Bit controversial, but yeah.
But not in people?
No, because they can't do it because they're not allowed to, because the regulators said, no, you can't trial this, you're not treating them for a disease, you're just giving them a drug, which is why the study at Cardiff University compared people who were already taking it rather than people who were healthy and taking it.
I can see that the pharmaceutical companies would be very happy to have ageing designated a disease.
Yes, it would make them a lot of money.
Does that worry you, how they could mine that particular avenue of revenue?
I think that if it does end up that way, there's going to need to be a lot of strict regulations brought into place for the production of those kind of treatments, so that when they are brought to the market and when pharmaceutical companies can develop them, they can't just go and put anything out there, basically.
I can see the attraction of one size fits all and having one specialist for old people's everythings.
Yeah.
But do you think that an Alzheimer's specialist would know very much about bowel problems?
No, they wouldn't. It would need to change so that people actually learned about ageing being a disease within itself, not something that just happened.
Like a gerontologist?
Yeah, it's slightly different, but yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, because from my point of view, this would be when you were younger, you could go see him and he would be able to give you preventative medicine, whereas a gerontologist treated you once you had these illnesses.
So what do you think it would be all right to die from?
Well, anything that's like okay to die from, but we don't want people suffering with things like dementia, which don't actually kill you, or Alzheimer's for no reason.
Fair enough, thank you.